We'll now open the Revere License Commission meeting. First order of business is Mayuri Patel doing business as the Breadbasket Discount Store. This is an application for transfer of a malt wine package store license. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yep. Hirak Shah of 38 Concord Street, Wilmington, Mass. I was the attorney that was on the application.
On the application. Okay, great.
Hi, my name is Mayuri Patel.
And you're the current owner, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to be the new owner. The current owner is right here.
Okay.
Sure.
So you.
For the record, the sale has been processed, so she is the new owner as of last week.
Okay. Great. Okay. Couple of questions. Are there any plans to change the license in its current form?
No, everything remaining the same. It's just a straight transfer of ownership.
Okay. And does your client have any experience operating a liquor store?
Yes, she previously down in North Carolina had owned a store that sold alcohol.
Okay. Any questions from the commission?
Has your client worked at this location in the past?
She's been training for the past couple of weeks while after we had gone through the purchase and sale process. So during that time, she observed my father, who was the previous owner, as he operated the store and the sale of the alcohol.
So she was never an employee at this location?
No.
Okay. Because we did have a problem back a few months ago, and you weren't an employee at the time?
No, not anymore.
No.
So, you said she had worked at package stores in the past?
Yeah, she owned a store down in North Carolina,
Oh, okay.
which had a liquor license.
Okay. I have no more questions.
Great. Any other questions?
No, I have no other questions. I mean, everything will stay the same, the hours of operation, and how long will you be at the premises? Do you plan on working the store?
About 40 hours.
About 40 hours.
40 hours, about
40, 50 hours.
40, 50 hours.
About 40 hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Are there any opponents that want to speak on behalf of this establishment? Hearing and seeing none, are there any proponents?
I didn't
See.
understand.
Hearing and seeing none, I will close that. Is there a motion on the table?
Before I make a motion, we just like to keep the area clean as it was, and
Yep.
you want to keep Broadway and pristine, and that's the key here.
Yeah,
as well
and,
as
yeah.
doing the right thing. One question I didn't ask in terms of checking IDs. Do you have a ID checker? What's it called?
They're going to be in the process of purchasing the machine to be able to check that you can be able to slide and just be able to check the ID. Right now they just ask
Manual.
for ID.
Okay, yeah, I would recommend you get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of license.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All set.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much.
Thank you so
Good luck.
much.
Happy holidays.
You too.
Thank you.
You too. Take care.
Item number 2 has been withdrawn. Item number 3, Kenneth G. LaFauci doing business as Brothers Auto Body. So, Counsel, I'm sorry, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Attorney Lawrence Simeone, 300 Broadway, Revere, Massachusetts, representing the individual, Mr. LaFauci.
Great, thank you. So we've got 2 issues to address today. The first one I'd like to address that pertain to the state troopers. So just to recap our last meeting, it was, the state police's position was that if they were bringing in parts to use on a, actually, you know what? Troopers, could I ask you to state your position on this again, please? Just for the record? Yeah, please, thank you. I figure you could do a better job at it than I would.
Good afternoon. Trooper Matt Heafy with the Mass State Police Salvage Title Section.
Trooper Dana Atkinson, same section.
Great, thanks. So if you could just state your position on you know, where you're coming from with respect to how you view the legislation.
Certainly, there are two types of licenses we're talking about here. Mr. LaFauci possesses a Class 2 used car dealer's license from the city of Revere, which allows him to, based on the parameters that you all have set forward, to sell motor vehicles. The issue comes in part where we believe he's acting as a Class 3 used car and a dismantler, where he purchases vehicles at auction with the intent of using those for a parts vehicle. He then removes parts from a vehicle to rebuild another, which we believe crosses into the line of being a Class 3. He is allowed to buy vehicles at auction that are salvage motor vehicles as being a licensed dealer. But you know, we believe the intent comes down to where what he intends to do with a vehicle when he purchases at auction, whether he's going to rebuild it just as a rebuildable and sell it, or purchase one as a vehicle for parts, strip that vehicle, and then use those parts on another vehicle that he intends to rebuild.
Great, thank you. So, Counselor, thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
So, addressing the issue as we have, we've looked at the statute, and it's clear that the critical statute is not the licensing statute, Chapter 140, Section 59, but rather the salvage title statute, which is Chapter 90D. And as I've pointed out in my prior memo, Chapter 90, Section 20, C specifically points to the fact that there's in Section B, it is an exclusion. It says that all dealers under 140-59 are exempt from taking a salvage title vehicle and immediately bringing it in for new documentation by the registry, but rather these dealers are allowed to take salvage vehicles and then reconstruct them or refurbish them, and then transfer them by going through the troopers' unit to make sure that there are no stolen parts in those vehicles. Once the troopers have approved a review, an application, one is submitted with their complaint, they then, the license is then issued by the registry, and printed on it is reconstructed. So the goal of their unit, troopers' unit, really was back in the Dukakis days when stolen cars were a big issue for us, and they're basically looking for hot pots. There's nothing, and that's what Antonio DeSisto said in his letter that I've provided you from MassDOT, who actually oversees the troopers unit. There's nothing under Chapter 140, Section 59 in the definition of a Class 2 operator that prohibits them, one, from buying salvaged vehicles at auction. And a salvaged vehicle is a vehicle as determined by actually the owner and the insurance company. It is a vehicle that has been damaged to a point where it is uneconomical to renovate it in the eyes of the insurer. The insurer then gives the owner an option to keep the vehicle. That the person can only keep the vehicle with the insurer's consent. Subsequently, if someone wants to keep the vehicle, They have to, within 10 days, seek a salvage title registration and turn in their real registration. So the idea is that the licensees under 140, Section 59, one of which is a Class 2 license, can purchase salvage title vehicles. And there's no prohibition in any statute that says they can't use the parts from those salvage title vehicles and then take the remainder of the vehicle and junk it in accordance with the salvage title law. And I think that's the rub. And that's why Antonio, so in his MassDOT statement, has come to the conclusion that his lawyers have come to the conclusion, MassDOT has come to the conclusion that it isn't clear, and there is no prohibition within the statute, the licensing statute, 140, Section 59, that says Class 2 licensees cannot do what my client's doing. What my client does is buys 2 cars of the same style or make and uses one to reconstruct it, and then takes the remaining vehicle and junks it in accordance with state law.
Right. Troopers, just a quick question. There hasn't been any violations other than this issue that we have on the table. So there hasn't been any issues with stolen parts or because I think the point I think I'm going to make is that I don't necessarily. I agree with Counselor on a number of those issues where I think the distinction is somebody that is a Class 3 dealer versus a Class 2 dealer, and whether they're storing vehicles here, and I haven't asked that question yet, but has there been any violations in terms of how he's operated other than the disagreement we have here?
For the salvage title process, no, none that we've come across that.
Okay, great. I don't have any other questions.
I have a question for counsel.
Great, thank you, guys.
So counsel, is there a reason he doesn't get a Class 3, having a 2? Is it a cost? Is it I'm just curious.
Well, the Class 3 license, I'll tell you that I don't believe there are many having been issued in this community. I think I handled the last one, which was probably like a decade ago. And they're licenses to run junkyards. Historically, my limited involvement with Class 3 licenses is that dealers would try to get them because they could go into a variety of different venues and buy cars and parts and whatever. So they would use the Class 3 license not really to run a junkyard, but to gain access to certain venues where they bought cars. And then I think the commissions over the years started closing that down.
So it's not part of his business model then?
No.
Gotcha.
So my question is when a vehicle comes in, at any one point in time, how many vehicles would he have in there for salvage, number one?
Well, he wouldn't have any vehicles for salvage, but he would, let's say if he went to the auction,
Right.
I think it's working.
He doesn't sell individual parts. Do I get to thank Joe for that? Bringing me back to life? Thank you, Joe. He doesn't sell individual parts at retail or wholesale for the purpose of just selling parts. That does not happen at the operation.
So, just,
Nor does he store, I apologize, Commissioner, through you as chairman, nor does he store vehicles for the purpose of just storage of vehicles. He uses what he needs, and immediately, or in the process, he has that
So
particular body
the yard
junked.
that's adjacent, to the shop, is that his yard?
I believe it is.
And are those his vehicles?
I believe they belong to a tenant.
Okay. So he's not storing any of those vehicles there?
He is not storing vehicles there. The tenant is a tow company, and I believe the I know that the vehicles in there are the tenants from his tow business.
Okay.
okay, so counsel, you're saying he would go there, he has a car, needs parts, the fenders are gone, he would go and buy that car to take the parts off, to refurbish the car for sale?
To refurbish one of the two cars.
Okay. And when he's done, he immediately gets that junk car off the property?
Yes.
It doesn't stay on the property at all once he has his parts?
Once he's done, he's reached a point, I'm sure that there's a way for, he does more than one at a time because he has to transport them. But once the vehicle has been used as required, his needs to reconstruct a vehicle, he junks the vehicle in the normal course.
Because I, for one, even if, I don't think there are any Class 3 licenses available, I'm not even sure that this commission deals with junk car licenses. It may be the city council, I'm not sure on that. But I think a long time ago, there may have been a moratorium on those. So I'm not one for junk, Class 3 junk licenses. That is something I wouldn't want to approve. So, I mean, my thing is, I just want to make clear that this is only to use parts to fix a vehicle that he has, and the remainder of it is not to be sold, but to be properly disposed of? Is that what you're
You
saying?
say the remainder, I don't know when he junks it with a third-party junking agency, he might get scrap value for that. So he does sell it, gets scrap value. Might be weight, that type of thing.
But not on his property. He doesn't leave this on his property for that purpose.
No. Once it's used for the purpose of buying it and using the parts, he then moves it off his property and, again, junks it, gets salvage value for weight or whatever.
Okay.
So it's not sold to another dealer for parts or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
Now, and just one other question, just because that area, it seems to all be blending in together. It seems like you've got 3 parcels there, and everybody has used car licenses, junk car license, towing, whatever it is. When he has this junk car, is that left inside the building? Or where do we park these when you do
I would think
receive
that-
a used?
I think in his operation, the majority use of the building inside is to deal with the auto body operation. So I think, common sense would dictate that he would probably be using or in the process of picking and choosing parts off these vehicles, and these vehicles would be surrounding the building.
Okay, because I think that's part of the problem here too. If we leave these type of cars that aren't usable, they're just salvage cars, and we're leaving them out front, it is looking to an outsider that it looks like a junkyard.
Right.
So I mean,
Well,
if
no.
this were to be approved, it should be kept indoors while you're taking the parts off of that particular car you bought to repair the other ones.
That would be, I would say, given his limited space, even though the building looks very big on the outside, I'm sure he's willing, as Mr. LaFauci has always been willing as a licensee over the last 30 years, to do the best he can, but I would think that if he starts bringing more vehicles inside that really could easily exist outside for a short period of time, that would reduce his ability to actually work on cars that he has to, actually paint and do auto body work on. But I heed the commission's concern. I'm sure Mr. LaFauci does too.
Well, I think even from a safety standpoint, because I know in that area that there are, other companies that, I've seen vehicles up on jacks and doors off the vehicles and right on the sidewalks. I mean, it's hideous.
That would be improper
So I
on any
guess my
standard.
question is would it be in an area that would be enclosed? I don't mean enclosed in the building, but fenced in.
On his property.
On his property.
I know most of his property is fenced in, but I believe, is the driveway fenced in? Everything is fenced in.
So there wouldn't be any of those vehicles out on the street?
Nothing out in the street, he says.
Okay.
Okay, right. Any other questions?
I have no questions.
No, I have no other questions.
Thank you. I applaud the state troopers for taking a position on this and especially with one establishment. I would hope that they would continue to do that. In this case, although Lawrence is much different from Revere, based on the statutes, I don't really see, as long as they're not storing any vehicles and reselling the parts, I would have to agree with counsel that I don't really see an issue with the practice at this point. Unless you guys could shed a little bit different light on it, I'm at this point, my position, I think, at this point would be is that I don't really see any violation. I don't know if my colleagues agree with me at this point, but and I'll certainly have them weigh in, but that's how I see it at the moment.
Just in closing, speak to that, sir.
Sure, absolutely.
Again, I know council had an issue with how this came about as far as Lawrence being the catalyst for us being in front of you. We brought this to the attention of the city. We were told at that point in time that this was probably something that was outside of the license and that you all wanted to be made aware of that, which is where this all stemmed from. And going back to Lawrence and the Northeast region, which we deal with. I just so you understand, a little bit, the word salvage is thrown out a little bit loosely, if you will. A salvage motor vehicle to us in our world is one that is able to be rebuilt, as opposed to a vehicle that is bought specifically for the reason to dismantle it, which is very clearly stated in the Class 3 license, which they're allowed to do. I know Mr. DeSisto in the letter that council is referring to really doesn't broach that subject at all, as you had recognized early on. We really have no position one way or the other. We're determining the Class 2 and 3 based on each individual municipality, bring it to their attention, and certainly that is completely in your realm to make that decision, and we respect your decision one way or the other. You have to go back to, if you're not a Class 3 licensed dealer and you're only a Class 2, why don't you buy parts from the Class 3 licensed dealer? Because you're saving money, you're skirting your way around by avoiding having to buy from a Class 3 because they pay for the license and they're not widely distributed as you've stated here. So that's, I think that if you look at why a Class 2 does it and isn't a Class 3, it's because they can't get a Class 3 license, and this is sort of an end around the Class 2 and Class 3 distinction. But like I said, we only brought it to the attention of you all because we were made aware that it was possibly a violation. That's why we appeared.
Well, I agree, it's a valid point. And I don't disagree with you in that. However, to me, in looking at the statutes, it's really not clear from at least from my standpoint anyway. But I mean, I'm appreciative of the fact that you guys are out there doing that.
Sure.
So, anyway, that's my position, and
And just one more thing to
Sure,
add to the
absolutely.
board. I know there's several other dealerships, some we come across in the salvage title now. Would this be an exception for Brothers Auto, or is this going to be all-inclusive with every Class 2 dealer within the city of Revere?
No, I would think that based on the merits of each one, I would, you know, we would hear each one. I mean, if the facts were different where they had a salvage yard or they had some type of yard, to me, that's an entirely different situation. I mean, that's one where I would say that I would agree with you and.
So that would be a case-by-case basis
Yeah.
for the board.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
would
I
you
would
want to
say
be
it's-
made aware if another dealership, you know, down the road would have come in, or would you rather not deal with the issue?
No, we
Yeah.
would happy to deal with it, because clearly, the next issue, you guys don't need to stay for this, but the next issue coming up is part of the bigger problem for us, is that what we don't want is, we don't want vehicles, you know, all over the place, you know, in some, you know, state of you know, disrepair, thank you.
I agree with Commissioner Formentello that I would like to hear from you again if there were a violation like that. And again, it would be where it is. I mean, if it's on the main highway and they're taking in the salvage cars or what they're doing. So it is case by case. I think on this board, I find so many gray areas that's why we have these hearings, to call them in, get all the facts of each establishment and how they're handling it on their own. So I appreciate any information, and that's how this board runs. We hear from people that give us this information, and it's very helpful.
Sure.
And I think that maybe the law has to be tweaked somewhere, because I still don't get that someone with a Class 2 license, if it is junk car, why are they letting a Class 2 license buy it? It should be Class 3 buying it then.
Well, they
Well,
can't,
that's an interesting point that you brought up at the last meeting, you brought up this one as well. There's absolutely nothing restricting him from buying salvage motor vehicles, or any Class 2 dealer from buying salvage motor vehicles. The point that you make is very astute, because the question should be, why don't you buy parts-only vehicles from the auction, which are available? And the reason that that Class 2s generally don't do that is because that's in violation of their license with you all, that they can't buy a parts-only vehicle and keep it on their property.
Interesting.
Because now it is a salvage vehicle. I agree with you, it's a little bit gray, but as soon as you purchase a salvage motor vehicle and you take parts off of it, from our standpoint, it's now a junk vehicle. Now the vehicle is a junk and can only be either sold to a scrapyard or to a Class 3 that can then take the rest of the parts off. So that's the reason that Class 2s don't buy parts only, because we had a very honest Class 2 from another city or town actually stand in our office the other day, and we said, why don't you turn that title into a parts only title? And his immediate response was, I can't have any parts only vehicles on my property. I can't own a title that says parts only, because he's not a Class 3 and he's quite aware of that. So that's kind of where it all falls apart as far as the 2 and the 3. So as soon as you do take parts off of a vehicle, it's now a junk, and they're very well aware that they can't resell that vehicle or rebuild it, or it can only go to junk or to a Class 3 to then be cannibalized even more, if you will.
Okay, well, this has been quite an education for me. This has answered a lot of questions that's never come up before the board, so it's been kind of a tricky thing. But I do hope you keep in touch with us, and, you know, keeping an eye out for us is great too.
Exactly.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much, guys,
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
So just to close this part of the session, I think we're in a good place.
I take it you table it with no violation, or just
Exactly,
establish
as
no
long as
violation?
you continue to operate the way you're operating.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
So, also, before you take off, so the other matter that we wanted to speak to you about was,
Revere Fire Department?
yes.
The Deputy Chief Cheevers wrote up a
So so what I have here is an order of notice, no fire alarm system installed within 30 days.
I have that, yeah.
Excuse me?
I have that.
Okay.
I was kind enough to receive that from the
The point that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You want to know, a status is that my client has, in concert with Deputy Chief Cheevers, has contracted to put a fire alarm system in, and is in the process of doing that. And I believe Deputy Cheevers already issued the permit for construction. Is that correct?
They went to Alarm X is doing it.
I'm sorry, please.
Alarm X is doing it, but I'm saying he issued the permit for Alarm X to do it.
I think so, yes.
Okay. It's our belief that Alarm X has been retained there, his vendor contractor to install it, and I believe they've received their permit to construct the fire alarm from the deputy.
Great. And then, so there've been a number of complaints. They noted also excess vehicles in Naples Road, which I recognize that this is not only your client's issue, it's a number of establishments' issues. However, they did note it on yours, so obviously there had to be enough conversation that led him to believe that there was excessive vehicles. How are you dealing with that?
Well, all I can say is that I would need a little more time to find out exactly, where the vehicles come from. I mean, my client owns one piece of property. I believe he owns a piece of property across the street, and he owns another piece of property that he rents for a tow yard. So it's a very small stretch of road. It's highly industrial in nature. I believe the city probably doesn't provide much service to that area because it's kind of been a self-sufficient area where the business people take care of themselves. So there may be some helter-skelter with where cars are being parked, and I just, if you want to follow up a report on that, I'll have to talk to the deputy and talk to my client, give you something.
And just so, while we're on that, two other points, 453 American Legion Highway, is that the establishment we're talking about, yours?
453 American is the
Adjacent lot
adjacent
being
lot.
used to store vehicles,
with-
over 40. Is that's the adjacent lot next door?
Yeah.
You have
The Clerk
currently,
channel. It says 453 American.
That's my house. That's a three-family house there, that's across the street. They have a lot beside that house that have been parking there for years.
so you're talking about the old Picardi house, that was, the one that was on the corner next to the billboard?
No, there's another one he owns.
I own
You're
that
talking
house,
about-
and then on to the left of that house, I have a lot there
Okay,
that's fenced in. And
it's fenced in? And then are those your vehicles in that?
yes.
They are. Okay. And then, let's see, and then they also note the Clear Channel lot. Is that your lot?
No, but I have to deal with them. I keep it clean, I mow it, I maintain, I just park under the sign there during the day, and usually, they're not parked there at night.
So they counted 12 vehicles that have they been removed?
They move, there's nothing that's there that stays there. It's like during the day, if a customer pulls up, they'll park right there or whatever. It's nothing that stays there.
Okay, and then, okay, so, my concern is that if you go down that area, it's horrendous. You would have to agree. I mean, I use that road actually quite often, and there are days that I can't even get down that road.
I haven't been cleaning up, I've been getting rid of a lot of stuff there, and it's only me, they have.
And I recognize that. I think
We have Mario's towing there, we have Busy Bee dumpster there, we have Valentino's there, there's a taxi company there, there's all new upholstery there that's there now, the tanning company. I mean, they're not all my cars, there's a lot of business there, there's a lot of traffic going in and out, and it's just, sometimes it's hectic, sometimes two cars come up the same way, they can't get down the street. It's just a narrow street. I mean, I plow it, there's a pothole in the street that I paid to have it fixed. I've asked the city 1,000 times, I did the bike one here to fix it, and I paid a hot tub company to come and fix the street, they do nothing.
And I'm not, by no means am I saying that you're the sole responsible party here. I think, quite honestly, anything that falls under this commission, we would like to make sure that we're making sure that the area is clean.
I fixed the problem, and there's really no problems there. You never had any, if there was a problem.
I'm not necessarily saying that there's problems, but clearly it's an area that's just, it's out of control, quite honestly. I mean,
I think the best thing, and I would just, wherein I really haven't had much time to dig into this issue and to speak to the deputy as well as to look at the abutters, if, if the commission's serious about looking into this, certainly not as a violation of the license, but just as a matter of goodwill between the licensee and the commission, we'd be glad to do that and give you.
Yeah, I think that's the position that we would take at this point, but I would leave open, the ability for us to take action if we didn't have parties that were willing to cooperate.
Okay.
I think really we have to find out in that area what boundaries belongs to which business down there. I think mainly, I know you have all those other many businesses there, but the three lined up, those are where I think we have to find out where the boundaries are and whose vehicles they actually are. Because I can see the gas station seems to have an awful lot of cars in there, and those are all day. They don't move, the white trucks, and so I don't know where that goes either. So it seems like the three businesses are just clumped together.
Well, Deputy Chief certainly have no problem talking to him and seeing where he wants to draw the line on this, what amounts to be a public safety issue. He may need to draw in other officials that go beyond his jurisdiction, zoning and so forth. So I'll have that communication and I'll report back to the court, report back to the commission if that's okay.
Because certainly getting down that road, God forbid, we do have there are vehicles. I mean, should an apparatus have to get down there, you could have a problem. So it's within your best interest to let's straighten it out, let's see where the vehicles really belong. And I don't think they're all yours, or you've got a wonderful business. So I think I would like to have that taken care of. If council can look into that and see exactly where your boundaries are, and then we can check and see where the rest of the vehicles are coming from.
Yeah, I look forward to working with Deputy Chief, so
Great.
fine.
Great, so we'll leave this matter open until you get resolution with the fire department.
The new matter as opposed to the old matter.
The matter on the vehicles, the parts.
The old matter, I
is
take.
acceptable to us.
The old matter is going to
I don't
be.
see any violation
Yeah.
on the license at this point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4 is MFRP Corp. doing business as the Squire. This is a hearing into possible license violation stemming from an assault on the premises. It's been requested by the MFRP's council to postpone the meeting until the next meeting, which is 21st of December. 21st of December, okay. Communication, this is a notice of hearing by the Massachusetts Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission to determine if R K E Corp. doing business as BK's Bar and Grill violated laws and regulations concerning gambling. Hearing's date is set for Tuesday, February 7th, 2017 at 11 a.m. Communication number 2 is a decision from the Massachusetts ABCC for informational hearing regarding application of MHF Logan Operating V LLC doing business as Hampton Inn Revere. The ABCC decided to issue a return no action on the application. License renewals for 2017. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through them and then we'll approve them all at once. Lodging houses. Edward Rizzo, DBA R&R Shirley Realty Trust. We're gonna hold that one to call for a public hearing in December on the 21st. So we'll
Continue that
so
for
we're
a
going to
year.
continue without that one. Okay. So starting here. Lodging houses, R House 2 LLC, 675 B Street, Capic Real Estate Inc., 72 DeHone Street. Entertainment, BJ's Wholesale, AL Prime Energy Consultant, Suffolk Downs LLC doing business as Airport Diner, Dairy Mart Liquors, Ortiz Corporation doing business as Pollo Royal Restaurant. Common Victuals License, Suffolk Diner LLC doing business as Airport Diner at Suffolk Downs, Dairy Mart Liquor Inc., Ortiz Corporation doing business as Pollo Royal Restaurant, Lee Burbank Highway Service Station Inc. doing business as Super Sunoco, Prezioso Enterprises doing business as Vinnie's Food Market, Lou Jack Corporation doing business as Dunkin' Donuts, 338 Squire Road, Tori LLC, doing business as Dunkin' Donuts, 477 Beach Street. Zaya Bala, doing business as Bala and Boss Roast Beef. AMBE Corp., doing business as Broadway Convenient Mart. Kwang Fei Chung, doing business as China Garden. Vapul Patel, doing business as 7-Eleven Food Store, number 27471 1120 North Shore Road. Vincent Laratano, doing business as The Pizza Kitchen. Joel Enterprises, doing business as Domino's Pizza, 570 Broadway. Mahavir Enterprises, doing business as Convenient Martin Deli, 270 Broadway. Parking lot, Alphonse D'Amico, doing business as Seaside Parking, 646 to 660 Ocean Avenue. Class 2 motor vehicle dealers, NLR Corporation, doing business as Nick's Auto Sales. John Seeker, doing business as Commonwealth Auto Sales. Secondhand dealers, AC Cars and Video Games. Jewelry, gold, silver, precious metals dealers. Rashana Jewelry. Flea Market, International Recreational Industries, doing business as Revere Swap and Shop. I'll make a motion to approve those licenses. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, December 21st. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.